Derek Dooley done at Tennessee. Mark Rogers TV on what went wrong and where the University of Tennessee football program goes from here. First, the numbers on Derek Dooley. In 3 seasons, minus a game, 15-21. The number that really hits me here is 4-19 in the SEC. 4 wins in 23 SEC games. That includes 1-14 in the past 15 games. Derek Dooley had 3 consecutive losing seasons. That hasn't been done in Knoxville since 1911. 0-15 against the top 25. So Derek Dooley takes over a team in Tennessee in a program that's used to winning and competing for conference championships and competing at the national level, and he goes 0-15 against the top 25. Now, we understand that Derek Dooley was placed in a bad situation. Philip Fulmer did a great job at Tennessee, won a national championship. The Vols competed for the Eastern Division every season, but the program was on a slide, went 5-7 that last Philip Fulmer season, had not competed for an SEC championship since 2007. Then, of course, the Lane Kiffin experiment busted. He bolted, and a lot of players went with him or departed from the program, so Tennessee lost a lot of recruits. So Derek Dooley was placed in a bad situation. So let's get that straight. Losses equal firings, but also money losses equal firings. And what's happening at Tennessee is that the athletic budget is $4 million in deficit. That's also been exacerbated by the number of buyouts that the University of Tennessee athletic budget has had to suffer. Now with paying off Derek Dooley $5 million in the buyout stipulation in his contract, he had 4 years left on his contract. The university has also had to pay off the baseball coach and basketball coach Bruce Pearl. And again, $4 million in the red for the athletic budget. Much of that has come because Tennessee Volunteer fans are turning away. The worst attendance this season for Tennessee football since 1989, 23 years. 11,000 under capacity this season, still drawing 91,000 a game. So that's a ton of people showing up for Tennessee football, but we're talking about a football crazy state, football crazy conference, and 11,000 empty seats every game does not sit well with the Board of Regents. Derek Dooley took over again in a bad situation. And it looked like he was going to turn it around. That first season was promising. Yeah, he only went 6-6. And with a bowl loss, a really close Music City loss to North Carolina, 30-27, the Vols did finish 6-7. And they had a tough loss against LSU. If you remember that controversial call by a referee where the time should have run out on LSU and Les Miles got one of those magic wins that he somehow gets. So Tennessee lost that game, and it just kind of was a microcosm of the season, and it's been worse ever since. In recruiting, Derek Dooley recruited a great quarterback in Tyler Bray, or at least potentially great quarterback. He's got all the NFL skills. He's recruited the wide receivers to make a really nice passing game. But Tennessee does not have the speed and muscle to compete in the SEC. Specifically on defense, Tennessee is nothing close to what they had a decade ago when they were churning out NFL-type players. This defense this season is giving up 37-plus points per game and 478 yards per game. They will not compete in the SEC with that kind of defense. The defense isn't up to par, nor is the amount of playmakers, despite the 2 really good wide receivers, and they don't have the elite speed that they once had. Now, this is where I need some help from you, SEC people and Tennessee followers. Based on what I've read, what I've looked into, the Tennessee recruiting base in-state is not what Tennessee needs to compete. Philip Fulmer was able to go outside the state of Tennessee, recruit in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, go into the Carolinas and Virginia, and grab the best talent. Memphis is not committed to Tennessee. It's too far away from Knoxville, so they don't really have a stranglehold on Memphis. A lot of those best football players go to Alabama. They go to Mississippi, Mississippi State, and Arkansas, and elsewhere, not necessarily to Tennessee. So Tennessee has always had to go out of state because the state of Tennessee is not a top-notch recruiting base. So what does Tennessee do from here? It looks like the best candidate out there, everyone's talking about Charlie Strong at Louisville. He's a defensive guy who got the job done as a coordinator at Florida. And of course, we can see by the record what he's done at Louisville. The Cardinals right now at 9-1. So Charlie Strong would look to be a great candidate, as well as Chris Peterson up at Boise State. Would love to hear what you have to say, especially, again, SEC followers and University of Tennessee people. Come out, let me know what's going on at Tennessee, who would be a great candidate, and what do you do to become relevant again in the best conference in America. Let's talk Tennessee football on Mark Rogers TV.